Gothix.
I'm Lilly Tang Williams. I was born in China to illiterate working-class parents, suffered under Mao's Cultural Revolution and the communist dictatorship. I wanted freedom. America was my promised land. I was 23 when I fled tyranny. Arriving with $100 in my pocket and knowing very little English, I worked hard to make my American dream come true. Today, I'm happily married with 3 children, have my own businesses, and live in the grand state where the spirit of liberty resides. My concern is that my children and grandchildren will not have the opportunities I had. I see the shadow of authoritarianism cast by politicians who have locked us down, closed small businesses, inflate our money, and mortgaged our children's future. I saw it all before in China. The division of society, silencing dissident voices, and taking away parental rights, the indoctrination of youth, endless government mandates and control. People are losing their rights to make a living and to make their own life choices. Are you worried yet? I am. I fear that the country I love is becoming like the country I left. That is why I'm running for Congress. It is time for the majority to speak up, defend our country from the radical left, and keep the American dream alive for our children. My name is Lilly Tang Williams. I'm an American citizen by choice, running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. And please, donate, volunteer, and vote for me. I will be honored to represent, serve people of New Hampshire.
All right. Lilly Tang Williams, thank you so much for coming back on the grift. I am super excited to hear everything about your campaign for Congress. But first, how are you?
Oh, I have been super busy. Just came back 2 nights ago from a 1 week in Orlando, Florida. Went to CPAC for the first time in my life and had 10 interviews, met so many friends, including friends who follow me on Facebook. It's just wonderful to meet people in person. You can hug each other, you can see each other's smiles and listen to each other's voices. So much better than just a Facebook, right? Or Twitter.
Oh, yeah, I bet. That's amazing. That's so cool. That is so awesome. So I have a lot of questions that people have already started asking you. But before we get to that, what made you want to start running for Congress? Is it because you started seeing a lot of the things happening in America?
I could not sleep well last 2 years.
Yeah.
I survived the Mao's Cultural Revolution. Then I fled China 1988. I thought I came to a free country. I don't have to even worry about politics anymore. And I will have just constitutional rights guaranteed and the Second Amendment there. You know, until I woke up 20 years later in this country and I just cannot recognize America anymore. And today, I feel like it is my duty to continue to educate the public and my fellow citizens. What I see, I connected dots, I see writings on the wall. I have been doing that for past 5 years to educate people in schools and colleges, but I need to wear bigger hat. I need to go to bigger national TV platforms. I needed to speak up even louder because I feel like, America is in crisis and I need to come out to speak the truth and to connect with more people in this country.
Right, right. So let's actually talk about that because I was my progression of connecting the dots was a lot slower because I also didn't have the context that you had growing up under Mao. So you sent me some of the tactics that Mao used to come to power, and I wanted to go over some of those to see how they sort of compare to what's happening in America. So you listed, for example, purging of political enemies and silencing dissidents. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, Mao started his 10 years cultural revolution from 1966 to 76 because he lost some power inside of CCP, China's Communist Party. Why? Because his central planning economic policies caused a mass famine in China. Estimated 40 million people died of starvation from 1958 to 1961. And lots of people don't know that in this country. But so we had a new president, Liu Shaoqi, and Mao was not happy about that. So he left Beijing and used young people, urban youth called the Red Guards to purge, called class enemies within the party, and they are revisionists. They are country's enemies. So now all the voices against him were totally censored because he used propaganda, all the newspapers, all the radios. We did not even have TV. We're too poor to have TV that time. So he used those to basically launch a great cultural revolution called Destroy the Four Old culture, habits, ideas, and customs. So by using four olds, for example, traditional Chinese jacket like this can be for old. And the party leadership can also have some old ideas and old habits. That's why they could be enemies. And old furniture, cultural relics, and old religion, old traditions, all could be old. Then he wants to have a cultural revolution to destroy them all. And Red Guards, young people, lots of people in China, all bought into that. So Red Guards would top down statues, burning the buildings, and burning the cultural relics, and cancel dissident voices, and the identity politics, which is the hallmark of Maoism. He divided the people by using classic, Marxism, oppressor versus oppressed. Then 5 black classes are under oppressor group. Then 5 red classes are under oppressed groups. Then get them to fight each other, tooth and nail. And think about my childhood memory started when I saw some black classes were in the military truck and look very pale. After this public square class session, class struggle sessions, and with red guards saying red songs, holding little mouse read books, and those people were going to public execution site, getting shot.
Wow.
That was at the peak of Cultural Revolution. That's how my memory started. I was scared. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Imagine that. I was like 4 or 5 years old. So red guards, so military trucks with people going to get shot.
That is traumatic.
Very traumatic. I did not want to talk about this, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I bet. The chat is already saying that they're seeing a lot of parallels to what you're describing. And I think, especially when I think of, you're talking about the Red Guards, I think of how a lot of young people today have all of a sudden become sort of these political activists and are championing these things like critical race theory or gender identity. And what you're saying about getting rid of the old traditions, I see a lot of that happening now, where they want to sort of pave the way for this new tradition, this new ideology, a lot of these social justice things that are happening. I don't know if you're in agreement with that, but that's what I see.
Well, that's why I could not sleep. I mean, during 2020, when I saw our big inner blue cities burning, riots and looting, and the BLM founder come out to say we are trained Marxists. Can you imagine immigrants like me who fled, who survived the Mao's Cultural Revolution? It's like that just make me have a PTSD. I mean, it's like all the old memories come back flashing in my head. That just looks so familiar. It looks terrifying. What is going on? I know we use different words, social justice warriors instead of red guards, critical race theory, or whites are born racist instead of those, landowners all born black class. We need to eliminate them. And then you've got all this almost mafia dominant the street and crime surge. And they even burned government buildings after police buildings and defund the police. You know what? During the Mao's Cultural Revolution, I could not see any police in the streets. I don't know where they were, because you watch people getting tortured on the streets in the public squares called the struggle sessions, where tons of people face the black class enemies to ask them to apologize, to denounce themselves, to be publicly shamed. And they were born sometimes that way because they were born rich and born black class. But some of them were intellectuals who were dissidents, were scientists, dissidents, who just disagree with some party policies inside the party even. And then very quickly, you could be classified as a black class. That means rightists, bad influencers, and traitors. And who define those arbitrary groups? Mao and the top leadership, his supporters. So think about how many people could be classified as black classes. And it's just unbelievable. But everybody else was scared or was confused. And the Red Guards were naive. They were like teenagers, right? And school were closed. And people could do political struggles full time, going after teachers and professors and scientists and party leaders, intellectuals, and the traders, so-called. So they just bought into all that. Some kids are so sad. They turn their family in. They turn their neighbors into Red Guards, say, oh, there were some black class families. They were saying this. Or somebody has connection overseas. All were black families. Yeah, it's very scary because when your kids betray you to say, I denounce my parents, I'm changing my last name because my parents were black classes. How sad it is to parents and grandparents. They don't know. Young people don't know. They were used.
It definitely sounds, even like everything that you just described, it sounds like America is adopting a lot of those same tactics, but it's the same template, but they're swapping out the words to make it more attractive to American culture. And then what you just said about families and neighbors turning against each other and children that change their last names to cut off ties with their Black class families, I think of in two things off the top of my head. There's a lot of polarization between people on the left and people on the right. A lot of people on the right are being villainized because they're not on board with what the administration is doing. And then I see a lot of people also that are cutting off ties with those that don't want to get vaccinated because they don't want to help the greater good. So that's a little bit scary to think about, that it's kind of repeating itself like this. So I wanted to ask you, we actually had a few questions here, if you don't mind, from my audience. And one of them here is, where is it? Were sciences manipulated to reflect Mao's agenda when you lived in China?
Well, I think definitely if everything had to be politically correct, scientists, artists, actors, comedians, almost everybody. And the politics were inside of your neighborhood. They were in your face 24/7. It's like you could not have a downtime. You have to come out publicly to express your political opinion. Otherwise, silence is violence. Sounds familiar?
Yes.
And the people censor words. Husband, wives were censor words because husband, wives represent nuclear families. And do not use those words. They were kept those words. My parents call each other comrades, my male comrade and my female comrade, and all lovers. It's when you think about in the past, it's just today, that's so crazy. And also girls are supposed to look, dress, behave like boys. Mao trying to create a genderless societies and do not emphasize gender differences. Girls are not supposed to look pretty and not supposed to want to look sexy, use makeup, use earrings. No, none of them were, and even PC. I could not even lay my hair down. And I had to use approved hairstyles. And also dating were strictly forbidden. In my middle school, high school, and college first year, you could not even date. Romantic love was banned subject. How crazy is that? When you start, it says communism is totally against the humanity or human nature. But it doesn't matter because cultural revolution is more important. Politics is more important. We're supposed to hate each other. Mm-hmm. Blacks and red classes. I was a red child. I cannot imagine if I was Black, I may never make to America.
Wow. You just said two things that struck a chord with me. The first is the genderless society. And in America, how I'm seeing this push for this gender identity. And that is, wow, you kind of just reaffirmed exactly what I've been seeing. But,
I know you can check every box. As I'm saying, I summarize those 12 tactics and features, use my own experience and my knowledge. But is that scary though? How come they all apply here, relate to what's going on today? But we use different name. We use racial justice, social justice, racial equity, critical race theory, emotional learning, and 1619, and DEI training.
Right.
All that stuff doesn't matter because it's all identity politics. You got to divide people into different groups. And now it could be vax versus unvax. It's crazy.
Right. Right. So I wonder, do you think the push for all of these new ideologies is the result of people being miseducated on these topics like critical race theory and gender identity? Do you think the brainwashed people are now teaching other people what they learned?
I think a communist and Marxist, we don't know who they are. There might be behind the things. They use people as a pounds to come out. They know how to destroy America. America has weakness, has in slavery history, has racial tensions and conflicts, which is part of our history. They know that, and they use that to destroy, fundamentally transform America. You see all the politicians play race card. You see lots of people, even in the corporations, have to kowtow to the social justice warriors. You see cancel culture by social media, big tech. So if you were just affected by what you said, what you did 10 years ago, but you're still guilty. That's exactly what Mao did too. People were dig. Confess. I confess something you say you did 10 years ago. Oh, when you were young, when you were a child or some teenager, college student. I saw the similarities. Somebody's learning from that kind of communist Marxist tactics. They also offer you free stuff, like Mao did, offer free stuff, utopian society that never can. I was a starving child. My Sichuan province, my hometown, people were eating their dead children's bodies. We swapped with their neighbors because they couldn't eat their own to survive. And I think most people are good people, but they can be propagandized and they can buy into those kind of identity politics and focus on the wrong stuff. They don't know who are true, our enemies. They're not your fellow citizens. They're not your neighbors. They're not the white people. I'm a people of color. I feel very welcome in New Hampshire here. And we have very white state, but I also love American people. As an immigrant, I come here like when I was almost 24 years old. Texas people offer me kitchenwares, blankets, and free clothing, and they knew I was very poor. I only came with $100. They were very nice to me. I never feel like they were discriminating against me because of my skin color, and I could not even speak English. So why people who were born in this country are supposed to hate this country, where many immigrants would love to trade the place with them. And America is a shining city on a hill to lots of immigrants.
Right. I definitely agree with you. So to that point, I have another question here. If you had to tell American leftists why they are exactly like your oppressors in China, what are the most obvious comparisons between the two? What are they doing wrong? Or how would you convey that to someone who has been propagandized?
Well, think about the 5 red classes under oppressed, okay? You peasants, workers, and revolutionary heroes, and the soldiers and Communist Party officials. So my parents were in literally working poor. So we were the red classes. But look at today, you are supposed to be oppressed in this country if you are people of color, poor, woman, and transgender, and there's a lot more you can add to it. So then the oppressor groups today, when you look at China, why it's capitalists and landlords and rightists, bad influencers and traitors and all the black classes. But like this country, they just create a new identity politics. There's more than probably 5 under oppressor groups, especially if you were born white male and you are Christian conservatives, you are MAGA people, you're unvaccinated. There's so many groups you can divide the people. I really don't like that because all men are created equal. I don't care what party you're under and what your personal decision is when it comes to medical health decisions. I respect you. Can you respect other people who disagree with you? We should have civil conversations. But now this cancel culture censorship, it's like you got to be shut up if you don't agree with our rhetorics. And our media is like a part of this problem. They constantly, and divisive and fear-mongering. Can we just please have conversations? We'll sit down. We don't have to agree with each other. And that's what I advocate. Let's talk. Let's be nice. So if people attack me, I don't want to even respond. because I don't think I respond, hit them back with some sticks is going to do anything good. Or, I just say, hey, I just smile to say, you know what, we disagree with each other, okay? But we don't have to hate each other.
Right. And am I correct or by assuming that I think that's what communists want when they're trying to come to power is they want people to attack each other. So they don't want people to be able to have those conversations and actually unite with each other.
Right. Well, identity politics is a part of the Cultural Revolution. Well, otherwise, let's say 95% Chinese and today Americans are united. Who are our enemies? What do we focus on? We focus on pursue self-interest and happiness. We focus on living in freedom and have prosperity. But how do communists do cultural revolution? How do they destroy American history, American institutions, and silence other side of voices, even cancel science and cancel art, cancel not PC, comedians? You cannot even have jokes anymore. You cannot live your life and teasing anybody anymore because that's not politically correct. You're not being sensitive. We never had a political comedies in China. You dare not to laugh at any politicians. You go straight to jail. Even citizen journalists today are locked up inside the jail because their reporting narratives are not in line with the parties. So they don't want people hear from you. And human rights lawyers are also very dangerous careers. You go straight to jail. So, I cannot stress enough. Free speech is so important. It's a foundation of a free society. We don't have to agree, but with free speech, free idea exchanges, we can actually bring all the mind together to solve our problems. There's still individual racism exists, of course. We can never probably 100% get rid of that. As a Chinese American, I experienced one time too, individual racism, but I stood up for myself. Then that person was gone. It's like but the most time I'm enjoying leave this country. I'm living an American dream. It's hard to sell to me. I'm supposed to hate America. America is a systemic racist country. Stop Asian hate. Lazy lives matter. All that. I just cannot buy into that because they're not in line with statistics. First of all, when you look at the crimes right now, who are committing the most of crimes? Not proportionally to the population, they're not the white supremacists,
right?
Even against the Asians, they're not. So there are lots of issues we need to sit down to say, here's some problems with high crime. How is best way we can solve that and reduce crime, especially in the inner city minority neighborhood? It's awful. It's not good for their community. It's not good for lots of minority-owned business and stuff. Looting is still happening, and looting is justified now in California. Now even California, the Democrats are saying, hey, we need to stop this, And so you talk about bail reform. Why do you let all the violent criminals out who will commit the same crimes again? So it's time to ask questions and more questions. Do not just buy blindly into what your politicians tell you, what your legacy media tell you, because, if you keep buying their narratives, you don't know the truth. I always urging people turn to alternative media once a week. Go watch something different, right? Like watch Gothix TV show,
right?
Yeah, listen to something different.
Yeah, because you make a good point, because you also mentioned it earlier, how everything was saturated with politics when you were in China. Everything was politics. And I know a lot of people notice that you can't get away from politics. It's everywhere. It's in the movies. It's on TV. It's everywhere. And that should be, to me, that should be a sign, because that's not normal. That's not how things were only a few years ago. Like that's...
Yeah, well, for example, it's everywhere. You don't have downtime. Like we have loudspeakers in our neighborhood. 6:30 in the morning, they come on in the morning, wake you up. Everybody gets up at the same time, go to work, go to school. And then everybody at the same time, And Monday through Saturdays, my parents work for the state factory 6 days a week. We went to school 6 days a week. And then in your neighborhood, you have a Communist Party block committees. They want to come to your neighborhood, make sure everybody is politically correct. They knock on your doors and they sit down in your bed to talk about PC stuff. There's no off the grid. There's no privacy. Privacy is just such as, like a Western concept. I mean, even today's Chinese, when you think about, they are tracked by, vaccine passport, social credit system, 300 million facial recognition cameras, and digital currency the Chinese government trying to push everybody have on their phone, and the COVID tracking on their phone. It's like a human supposed to have some privacy,
right?
To live in a dignified life. But why you tell me why our Western countries who value human rights and human privacy, now they're doing the same thing Chinese Communist Party is doing? It's terrifying to me. That's why I said why I'm running now, because are we becoming like China? I cannot accept that.
Right. So let's actually talk about that, because that's a big point of living under in that environment, is that they monitor their citizens. And you said in China they have a social credit system, and in America there's pushes to have this vaccine passport. And is it essentially the same thing that they're trying to do?
Well, that the vaccine passport is a QR code they want to put on your phone. So when you go to eat, when you go travel, when you cross borders, that's what truckers are protesting against in Canada. I support them, because most of those truckers are vaccinated, but they don't want to carry this vaccine passport. So whenever they travel, they cross borders, they have to show the record. And it's tracking device. It's like almost 24/7. We are human beings. We're not animals. We don't want this kind of tracking. And, and especially in the Western countries, we are not taught that way. And it's not totally American. So I hope we will end all that and mandates and all that tracking. But, who knows? We should learn lots of lessons from the past 2 years. And then you look at what's going on in Australia, in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
If you are not PC, hey, you can lose your bank accounts. You can lose your personal assets. That's exactly what the Communist Party do in China.
Right. And I don't think people it's crazy, because I see a lot of people that are applauding the fact that Americans are losing their job if they don't get vaccinated. And I don't think they realize how dangerous that is. You're essentially saying if you don't comply with what the government says, you don't get to eat. That's not good.
That's exactly right. They decide, once they have total control, then the political ruling elites with their big corporate, like a cronies, they're going to decide how much you should eat, and if you should open bank account, and what kind of medicine you should take, put inside your bodies, and what your children should learn. And then it means can you imagine we live in that kind of society? It would be very dark. It would be 1984. Yeah. When I read 1984 after I came to this country, I told my husband, wow, he sure predicted just like the China society I grew up under for almost 24 years. We have minister, everything. They track you. You have to whisper. You can't, in ministry of love, even, I think our people are miseducated when they're young. They do not learn about the history, and it means informed by so-called independent journalism. We desperately need more of that, but I don't say that from legacy media. If you follow the money, you follow the corporations, and you say where they stand and why they're always so, so cozy with China. They don't call out China. During the past 2 years pandemic, they trust the Chinese official numbers. I don't trust China government official numbers. Why should our Western media trust their numbers? And then why should we trust our government politicians advocate for China-style lockdowns? I never expected that kind of lockdown style, and tell you to stay home. If you, stay home, close your business, and you lose a right to make a living. You don't have license to cut people's hair because it's dangerous to cut their hair during pandemic. As I said, you know why I could not sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I want to ask you, another point that you have here about Mao's tactics is change school or street names, change words, censor words, burn books, relics, temples, churches, and demonize religions. So I want to focus on the religion aspect. Am I correct in saying that a communist society, they don't want religion because they want the citizens to worship the leader as opposed to God?
Or worship the ideology called communism, make that become your religion, or socialism. And Mao did do that. Mao demonized all religions. He called them cult religions. I was a Buddhist. I had no temple to go. I could not tell people I'm Buddhist because you're not supposed to. You are Chairman Mao's red child. Young pioneer wear red scarf and red guard. You chant long live Chairman Mao. You cannot call yourself Buddhist because all religions were cult. That according to him, even today in China, and there are more other religions there, but it's state sectioned. You need to get state licenses, and they want you to also put a Chairman Xi's portrait inside of your church next to Jesus.
Wow.
So it's not really freedom of religion. And the Catholic Church is sold out to China too. The Pope made a deal with Beijing that the Beijing got to nominate all the bishops inside of China. It's so they do not want you people to have a freedom religion. And that's why I was so worried during the pandemic here. I saw this video, people in Mississippi could not even go to churches outside. Well, fresh air is so dangerous to your health. But there are other people who were protesting months long, even had a separate country called Chad in Seattle. They were not dangerous. When lots of people when I realized the COVID was political side, it's because after this massive, protest, the health officials, bureaucrats come out to say, those BLM protesters with large group gathering, no, they were not dangerous to public health. But if you go to church, you are dangerous. Can you see this pick and choose and hypocrisy, not consistent at all? It's like a virus. It's political. Yeah. I don't think so. Virus is a virus. The virus is real. That's why we got to take precautions. We got to take personal responsibilities, protect our high-risk population, protect our seniors. But when you pick and choose, and you saw hypocrisy all over the country, where governors and Congress people, they will have different rules for themselves. It's like there are some animals more equal than the others.
They'll have different rules for themselves. Guys, have you ever you seen a lot of these politicians on TV that are creating these mask mandates, and then they don't even wear the mask themselves? They'll tell the population to go socially distance, but they don't socially distance themselves. It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. It's I know that because Chairman Mao told us we cannot date, no romantic love for you, but he would have dancing parties in Beijing, his residency, have all the women he wanted after dancing party to go to his bedroom. He lived like an emperor. And we little people could not even have a crush on my classmates, on some boys. You dare not to tell anybody if you had a crush, on them, because, thinking about man and woman is not PC. It's called a Western lifestyle. Hey, but Mao could have Western lifestyle. He could do Western dance in his residency, like wars, like dancing parties. We were banned. We're banned even listening to some nice music. Like a Taiwanese singer. She sings very beautiful, soft Chinese folk songs, especially about love. And we were banned from listening to her. Say the Mimi Ziyin, like rotten music by Teresa Deng in Taiwan, her voice coming from shortwave radio. So I learned all that. That's why I really have a hard time to say, oh, I'm just supposed to trust my government completely. And bureaucrats completely. It's like, I heard that before.
Yeah. So we got a question from the audience. This is from JT Ramsey. They said, thank you both for starting and continuing this kind of conversation. Lilly, do you have a couple of quick points that you are running your campaign on?
Well, number one, I'm running because I fear the country I love is becoming the country I left. I want to stop this trend that United States is going down this path of more socialism, and socialism goal is to become communism. I don't care whatever the name they use, equity is communist term, and education. And I'm a staunch supporter of parental rights and school choice and education freedom account. And I want to get rid of this, like a Marxist teaching in our schools and teaching discrimination about one race is more superior than another race. I believe all men are created equal. And I want to stop this, our federal government who don't have good math skills at all. They don't care. They can print money all they want and to increase, inflated money into market. Inflation is tax increase on the working poor, on the middle class. And why are we printing money and we cannot afford it? We're spending like, there's no tomorrow, but we're printing money out of thin air, or we'll borrow our national debt. It's like $30 trillion. How do we have a strength to even tell other countries, stop what you're doing, like tell Russia, because when you don't have a strength and there's no peace, they do whatever they want because we rely on them. We rely on China for supply chains. We rely on Russia for oil. EU relies Russia 70%. His oil goes to Europe. So there are lots of things we can do, and by become stronger economic country and more unified. So they cannot do anything here, but they are here. The Communist Party operatives and party have infiltrated into our country for many years. And I'm under their attacks, and they're spying on me. That's why I want to call them out. The Confucius Institute infiltrated our colleges, high schools, and middle schools, and teach our kids how wonderful China is. And why are we doing that? Why are we so naive? People have a different point of view on China, think they're going to become democratic country. China just voted. Did not vote today. China was absent today to vote sanctions on Russia, where most countries voted yes. So China and Russia are together. What do we say to them? And what we should reevaluate our relationship with China at this point.
Yeah. Oh, you brought up a really great point about the Confucius Institutes that I recently learned about. There's a lot of these institutes all over America where they're teaching Chinese culture, but they're teaching it from a very specific angle. And that should raise a lot of questions, because there isn't something similar. Like if I go to China, I'm not going to find like some type of an Americanized institute, am I?
Well, different rules. Lots of industries cannot get into China. American companies go to China to do business. You have to comply with their laws, and you have to give up your intellectual property as a part of the entry. And they're pick and choosing who are their friends. They want to offer you deals, market access. That's why NBA is so quiet on China's human rights abuses, except Enes Kanter freedom. I'm his fan. And you see all the big corporations and kowtow to China because they want to have a market access. So when you say, look, we are like talk about Russia all the time. Russia economy is only $1.8 trillion. What if China's invading Taiwan? What are we going to do? China's economy is $18 trillion. It's the second largest in the world. We depend on China for lots of products and lots of services. And are we going to stand up against them, against their human rights abuses, against them invade Taiwan? We're not prepared because we are weak. We have been dependent on China for supply chains for years and years. And there are lots of business people, including their families, our politician families, doing business in China. And I think their voters deserve to know the truth. Who are doing business with China? That's why they are weak. They don't want to call them out either. It's hard to sanction somebody you're doing business with. You're making tons of money from them.
So we actually just got a comment from someone that said that they study at a Confucius Institute, but there is not idolization preached. We learn language, culture, and sometimes Tai Chi.
Yes, it's supposed to teach language and teach the culture, but the teachers they send to school work for Chinese government. They have to be PC. You cannot ask them, hey, what do you think about the CCP dictatorship and killing all those peaceful protesters, students in Tiananmen Square in 1989? You cannot ask them the question. They will not answer to you because they work for the government. They have red lines, things they're not supposed to talk about. And if they go to your school got to sign the agreement with them that they need to comply with China's laws. So it's very subtle, very indirect. It's well designed and propaganda. And they will not let you to ask questions about China's human rights abuses, about the cultural genocide with its Uyghur Muslim population in Xinjiang. And we're not talking about Tibetans being persecuted and the Falun Gong practitioners use their organs and to, harvest their organs were still alive. They don't want you to even ask those questions because they just want you to think language is wonderful, culture is great, Chinese people are very wonderful. I agree with all that. You have to differentiate difference between the culture, language, people with its government. It's the party, the government, it's a tyrant, but not Chinese people. Chinese people actually are their biggest victims today.
Right. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. So I wanna ask a question about the people that fall for these types of tactics. When you were in China, was there any point where a lot of your neighbors woke up and they realized, oh, what have I done? Was there any point like that?
No, I left in 1988. I feel very alone. I could not trust anybody. I could not tell anybody what I was doing. Like, oh, I plan to flee China. I don't want to ever go back. Somebody might report to me. I might not get permission to leave, to quit my job, to apply for passport. So sadly, lots of my families today, they still bought into government propaganda. They still don't have the waking up moments yet. They might complain about here, there, but they still support the one-party regime and they supported the propaganda. And they might disagree with me or tell me I'm a traitor or something because I'm speaking like this here. It's very sad. I don't talk to them about anything political. And I don't want to get them into trouble either because I'm outspoken here. I could bring, troubles to my extended families inside of China. But I just feel it's my duty to speak truth to the powers in this country. I choose America. I choose to become an American citizen. And I choose to live in my American dream. And when I see like a neighbor's house on fire, I feel like it's my obligation to inform them. Yeah, your house is on fire. We got to put off the fire. That's how I feel. That I have to just manage my worries and continue going because I feel lots of young people in this country really don't know the truth. And they don't know what horrors of communism that is and what happened to Mao's China. And it is my unique position and this God-given talent to come out, to speak to the public and to tell the truth.
So if you could give one piece of advice to people to help in this situation that's unfolding, what type of advice could you give to someone?
Just remember my stories, the summary of similarities. I know most people mean well, they have good intentions, but I just want to remind you what is going on in America. It's not about race. It's not about skin color. It's not about regular common working people. It is about a cultural revolution happening right now in our beloved country. If you want to live under a free country, if you want your children continue to have American dream, it's time for you to get educated, get informed, and search for truth on your own. Do not rely on your traditional methods of information, and do not buy into politicians and media's talking points. Search on your own. There are plenty of information. You don't have to take my words, my stories, as truth. You can go research on your own. But I lived through it. I lived under the iron fist of CCP for 24 years. And you can tell me if I'm more critical than you Marxist professors, not. They got from books. They live under a regime. They're lucky to be living in America and then tell you about, Marxism, and paid by taxpayers sometimes, have a guaranteed job. What a free country, right? So I just think it's time after the past 2 years to ask questions. All these young social justice warriors there, I don't blame you. I think you're miseducated, you're misinformed. I was one of you in China before, so I understand. But I'm hoping my stories will put something in your head to do some research on your own and slowly to start your awakening process.
That was great advice. That was excellent. Thank you so much for that. Guys, if you have some more questions for Lilly or about her campaign, please drop it in the chat. We got about 10 minutes left. Is that okay with you, Lilly?
Sure.
Okay. All right, cool.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate all the engagement and all the questions. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm everywhere. I'm very active.
Yes.
But the best way is still my website, lilytangwilliams.com. That's my campaign website. If you could donate $10, $25, I will appreciate it. I'm a grassroots campaign candidate. And I cannot be corrupted. You can trust me. I'll always tell you the truth, even though you might disagree with my policies. But I will tell you the truth because I think the truth shall set people for free. Plus, I'm not going to be corrupted politician. I cannot be bought by money, by power, because I know how much I appreciate freedom. That's my North Star.
Yeah. And I also want to just emphasize that you kind of have a target on your back because you're speaking out against the CCP and they don't like that. So you are running for Congress not only because you love America and you're willing to do so knowing that people want to stop you.
Well, the thing is, sometimes you cannot pick your timing to be, fighting the front line. I'm not a hero. I have skin in the game. I have 3 children in this country. I want them to live in a free country and have the American dream I had. I also wanted my other human beings, other fellow citizens, don't let what happened to me and happen to them, happen to their kids. Well, we all got one life to live. I choose to live in the Granite State, New Hampshire. We have a famous motto to live free or die.
I love your motto.
I know that's why one of the reasons I come here is that I think traditionally and the people who were educated, right, who were born Americans, they understand history and they understand how important our freedom is, how many people died to give us that freedom and this country to us. Look at how many founding fathers died after they signed the Declaration of Independence under British rule. I'm very grateful that people died for me to come here, live my American dream in this greatest country on earth. And so I believe that I would rather live freely and standing up instead of lying down quiet and let a big train run me over. What is the point to live? If you are not free, you are enslaved. Either you physically, emotionally, or your mindset enslaved. You rely on other people for everything instead of rely on yourself. What is the point? So I think that living free for me literally means I speak the truth. I fight a good cause. I want my freedom, and nobody's going to tell me how to live my life.
Good. Me too.
Good. Yeah, you got 2 lawyers here right now.
Yes. So I've got a question here. Let's see. Lilly, do you know any governors or anyone in the government right now that you have more confidence in?
Well, if you want to know the pro-Beijing governors, you can look up on Google. There are some governors identified as friendly, and there are politicians, inside of Washington, D.C. from both parties dealing with China. And I really like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and the South Dakota Governor. They both were at CPAC. I mean, we have lots of good people. The thing is, we all want the politicians to be honest. And in order to keep them honest, you voters have to hold them accountable. And then you have to follow them. It's lots of work and time, efforts. I understand that. And they're saying so because if you give them so much power, then you don't hold them accountable. You don't know what they're doing behind you. Do they sell you out? Do they make special deals with foreign countries or with lobbyists with special interests in this country? Or they actually put you, the voters' best interest above all. I want the people put human rights above profit. But that's not what the politicians and the corporations are doing now when it comes to deal with China. And, as I said, Cantor Freedom is exceptional when he can lose millions of dollars, not to play with, like an NBA anymore, but because he values freedom and he values human rights. He wants to call China on the human rights abuses, cultural genocide. And we need more sports stars like that. And we need more Hollywood movie stars like that. We need a lot more, regular CEOs like that. And at the same time, still we focus on build a strong economy, build the jobs, and let the people live and freely. That would be my ideal country. But today, I just don't recognize the same country I came here for. That's why I have to do what I have to do in order to stop, this, big train running us over.
Yeah. So have you, another question here, have you persuaded any Americans to see the situation in the U.S. with progressivism within the last few years?
Yes, I went to West Virginia University, gave a talk because I have a sponsor called the Victim of Communism Memorial Foundation. So you can request from them to have Lilly to speak on your college campuses and high school classrooms. And one college student was Bernie Sanders supporters. After my one night presentation, question answer sessions, he went back 2 weeks later to tell the host, please tell Lilly she changed my mind. I'm no longer Bernie Sanders supporter.
Wow, that is amazing.
I know that he made me so happy. He made my day. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I love to see results like that. I want to persuade people. And, and instead of fighting each other, scold each other, I want to use my personal stories to persuade them what is best in your interest and who are the people you should vote for, because you don't want to vote for your own future oppressors, people who take power you gave to them and oppress you and take away your freedom and treat your children like their children belongs to the state. Why do you want to do that? That's why we need to be awake. Not walk, but awake.
Right.
And question everything.
Right. I have another question here. If you're ever planning on writing a book, you should write a book.
Yes, it's on my to-do list. I feel like lots of people don't read a book today. So I'm focused on speaking. Sometimes you have to speak in 1 or 2 minutes to get their attention. And I will. I promise you, I hope someday that I will write my autobiography. And also something I want to live to my children.
Yeah. And also do an audiobook, because then I'll narrate it for you.
Oh, that'd be great. You speak a lot better English than I do. English is my second language. Yes, that'd be great. Audiobook based on Lilly Tang Williams' autobiography. How is that?
Yes. Excellent. I got one more actually interesting question. Lilly, have you seen the video by Yuri Bezmenov? Did you ever see that?
I think so. Is that the Russian communist?
Yeah, he's like an ex-KGB agent. He was talking about the process of demoralizing people.
Yes. The former communists all warned us about their tactics. And it's nothing new, but our people need to know They warned us. They also warned us that the Americans were not buying to communism outright. They will feed us a little bit of socialism, little bit every year, every month. Then pretty soon you will have a communism, but that would be too late. You don't even know it. It's like boiling the frog.
Yep.
You know, you saw that the past 2 years, and it's the beginning of boiling frog.
Yeah.
Lots of frogs. And that's why, you know, it's really time now to, you know, even though all of a sudden, you know, like, oh, pandemic is over or what, I'm still asking questions, what happened, you know, that all of a sudden, because of Putin, now all the restrictions are gone and we're going to all focus on the war. How about what happened in the past 2 years? What happened? How did we create so many tyrants? How did we make a small business? 40% of bars, restaurants closed forever. How many people suffered? How many people could have saved, but they were not focused on the early treatment, and they did not, you know, let people to know about other scientists' ideas and different opinions. We need to ask those questions. What happened? You know, I don't want to judge anything because I like to make informed decisions, but also I'm not easily just buy into one way or another.
Right. So you, in a little while, you're going to have an event in Connecticut. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, on March 19th, and there will be a public event where you can register, and I'm sure you will put the information on your site in Hartford, Connecticut, part of New England. I will be having an educational talk called My Life in Communist China, hosted by a local citizens group. And I just want to share my stories. Since I am in New England, it's easy for me to drive to. And if you have other citizens groups, New England, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, you know, I can drive to, then I would like to, you know, hear from you. And you can follow my page, Lilly for Congress, and private message me there or email me from my website. I hope people can come, especially parents with like a middle school, high school kids, bring them. So I will have a PowerPoint presentation, show all your pictures from China, black and white, you know, small ones, not very good quality, and just tell you stories, including my stories growing up under Mao during his Cultural Revolution. So March 19th, I think it's from 1:30 to 4:30. There's another immigrant who will be online to talk about his stories from a communist country. And he lives, I think, in another state now. And we'll welcome you, bring you questions, ask kids, ask questions, and it will be a great event. I hope to you join us and say hi.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to make that. Yeah, because I definitely want to go.
I know we need to hug each other.
Yes,
we haven't. You know, we cannot just talk all night, right?
I know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I posted the event information in the chat if you guys want to go check that out. And also, don't forget, all of Lilly's campaign information is in the chat and in the description. Please share, like this video, and if you can spare a few extra bucks to donate to the campaign, that will help her tremendously. So before we end the stream, I'm going to play your campaign video one more time, but I want to give you the floor just to give yourself some time to give any closing arguments you want to say, anything else that you want to give to the public.
I want to say that as American citizens, let's be united, please. I really hate to say country is so divided. Let's be kind to each other. And if we disagree, let's disagree respectfully, no censorship. And free speech is the foundation of our free country. But please be nice to each other and love each other more and hold your family, friends close. Even though they might disagree with you right now, they might hate you, but hold them close. Because someday when they ask questions and you are there to answer, and you are there to help them, and you are there maybe save them. So I will appreciate that you share my stories, share my videos, and I have to say, I love this country. And I have to say, God bless America.
Yes, God bless America. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lilly. It's been a pleasure catching up with you. Hopefully we can meet soon. As for everyone else, thank you so much for joining in on another episode of The Grift. I'm going to end the stream by playing Lily's campaign video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!
I'm Lily Tang Williams. I was born in China to illiterate working-class parents, suffered under Mao's Cultural Revolution and the communist dictatorship. I wanted freedom. America was my promised land. I was 23 when I fled tyranny. Arriving with $100 in my pocket and knowing very little English, I worked hard to make my American dream come true. Today, I'm happily married with 3 children, have my own businesses, and live in a grand estate where the spirit of liberty resides. My concern is that my children and grandchildren will not have the opportunities I had. I see the shadow of authoritarianism cast by politicians who have locked us down, closed small businesses, inflate our money, and mortgaged our children's future. I saw it all before in China. The division of society, silencing dissident voices, and taking away parental rights, the indoctrination of youth, endless government mandates and control. People are losing their rights to make a living and to make their own life choices. Are you worried yet? I am. I fear that the country I love is becoming like the country I left. That is why I'm running for Congress. It is time for the majority to speak up, defend our country from the radical left, and keep the American dream alive for our children. My name is Lily Tang Williams. I'm an American citizen by choice, running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. And please, donate, volunteer, and vote for me. I will be honored to represent, serve people of New Hampshire.